Hi, it's Mike DelSignore, Massachusetts OUI lawyer. In today's video, I want to talk about whether you should accept a CWOF on an OUI first offense. So, a continuance without a finding, that's what a CWOF stands for, is basically a plea. You're admitting that you drove under the influence of alcohol. In exchange for that, you're going to be given a 45-day license loss. You'll have to do a 24D alcohol education program, pay some fines and fees, and stay out of trouble, essentially. It's not an onerous probation. If you refused a breathalyzer, you might be able to get a hardship, assuming you can get a letter from work. If you took a breath test and failed, you're looking at a 45-day suspension. If the 30 days has already been done, you're going to get a new 45 days. If you're still within that 30-day period, you might save a little bit of time on your suspension. But let's talk about the difference. If you go to trial and lose, you're likely to get a guilty, but pretty much the same terms and conditions. A CWOF is technically not a conviction. After 3 years, both a CWOF and a guilty can be sealed. So we're really talking about the difference for the 2 years prior to the CWOF being closed, where it might not show up on high-level background checks if you have a continuance without a finding. If you work in a school, a bank, then a CWOF and a guilty are basically going to be the same thing. If you need your license for work, if they're going to run a driver's history, it's pretty much the same thing. So should you take the case to trial? So for many, it comes down to, well, can I win the case? What I look for in OUI cases is I look for what is my strongest piece of evidence. So I like it to be the driving. If there's no real bad driving, then in my opinion, the government needs an overwhelmingly strong case to convict somebody of DUI. In other words, without the erratic driving, the field sobriety tests are kind of worthless. They're designed to simulate driving. So if you don't have bad driving, these tests that are designed to simulate driving are sort of second best tests. In other words, whether you can walk and turn, balance on one leg in front of a police officer on the side of the road, which is hard anyway, is really not as helpful as just seeing you driving. Your driving shows you weren't impaired. So how did you pull over? How were you in your lane? How did you react when the officer put the blue lights on? Things like that. That's the best argument. A lot of cases do have erratic driving. So then what else is there? So the field sobriety tests. I look for ways where I can use those to my advantage. And often I can find ways to show that you did well on these tests. In other words, the field sobriety tests have a lot of different components in it. Usually there's a way to cross-examine the officer to highlight the things you did right. Often the reports are very short and they omit a lot of details. So a lot of reports read, missed heel to toe, stepped off the line, but there's nine steps on the way up, 9 on the way back. So there's a lot of chances for the officers to see mistakes. In many cases, we can make it appear that, well, maybe you missed 1 step, but you were on line the other 16. So I'll look for ways where I can take the field sobriety test and say that those really don't show impairment. Creates a disconnect between that and your opinion my client was impaired. Somebody's polite, cooperative, respectful. It's another indicator that they were not under the influence of alcohol. So what we're doing is we're looking for what's our strongest piece of evidence. What can we really go at with the jury with and say this is the reasonable doubt? The driving, the field sobriety test. Now, let's say the case, there's an admission. Maybe I need you to testify. Sometimes I have clients testify, prepare you. We'll go over your testimony. Sometimes I might need you to get up on the stand and say, geez, I was working hard, I was tired, I had a few drinks, I drank socially, did not think I was impaired. So that can be another aspect of the defense. So you don't have to testify when you're charged with OUI. You have a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Most of my clients don't testify, but in some cases, I need additional evidence to refute what the officer said. So if there's a real strong, if the report is strong, or if there's some evidence that if we don't confront, we're not going to win, we either need you to testify or another witness, and sometimes that's the approach at trial. So whether a CWOF is a good deal really depends on your situation. I'll go over that, like how quickly do you need to get back on the road? How deleterious or how harmful is it going to be if you're convicted versus if you take the CWOF. But I hope that you fight the case because these are winnable cases. They're subjective. They need to prove them beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a very high standard. So in my opinion, when you fight these cases, Generally speaking, I think the outcome's good. If I think somebody's a good case for trial, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know the courts, I know the judges very well. My assessment is usually spot on, and I'll tell you the variables. Sometimes I'm in a court where it's more difficult. Sometimes if you have to go in front of a jury, there's more variables. But a lot of these courts I've been to for a long time, I know what judges look for, I know what juries look for, so I'll help you make the best decision for your case. But certainly, number one, don't rush into taking a continuance without a finding. It's not, they'll offer that on day one, but they'll offer it on the day of trial. It's not something that they take off the table, you have to rush into. Make sure you make the best decision for yourself. Make sure you know the defenses, how the case can be presented, different legal issues that could come up in your case. Call, text me anytime. I'll be glad to explain it. Glad to review your report. 781-686-5924. My passion is helping people charged with OUI make the best decisions for themselves so you can get their life back together.